This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you, getting underway on this Wednesday, the middle of the week. And what everybody is talking about, well, maybe it's something that not enough people are talking about. We have a topic of conversation today for you that we really are going to have a down and dirty conversation about this, Debbie, I think. And, it's revolving around the fentanyl epidemic, where the fentanyl is coming from, how it's getting to especially our young people, where it's originating, what the problem is, what could we do about it. So we want to have a real honest conversation about this.
Absolutely. So we need you to weigh in. And have you had this touch your community, your family? This is very, very serious, folks. This is a serious discussion. And then we want to really pray about this and take action, because we need help in this area. 100,000 overdose deaths due to fentanyl. I mean, fentanyl being a synthetic opioid that is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. Okay, this is very, very dangerous, and it's coming over very easily through our open borders. Okay, they are grabbing the fentanyl. They are trying to get it off the streets as much as possible. But the drug cartels are controlling so many of the areas. And it's getting tough. I mean, I just saw a news report just 2 nights ago, Jerry, that was saying that they got enough fentanyl. They were able to grab as much fentanyl off the streets as possible, and it was enough to kill every person in the United States. I mean, that's how much. It's only like a dozen grains of salt can actually poison somebody, can actually kill them right away. It is so dangerous. And I have to tell you, folks, this is the one topic that makes me, I want to scream. I don't know why we are allowing this. 100,000 deaths. And then I heard recently that the authorities, so many, when they are called upon the scene to investigate these teenagers that have died from this fentanyl overdose, they authorities are saying, oh, well, they must have been a drug addict, or those kids are problem kids. That's not true. That is not true. This is an opioid a synthetic opioid that's being sold on social media by tens of thousands of drug dealers on Snapchat. It's being delivered to your front doorstep, and you may not even know it. Your kids think it's like a Percocet or a slight pain reliever. I just heard of a young teen, Jerry, that died because he had a wisdom tooth extraction, and he needed more Percocet. The dentist didn't prescribe it. He went on Snapchat, bought this so-called fake Percocet. He took it and he died instantly. Okay, this isn't even. You can't make this stuff up. This is sick, folks. We've got to do something about it. We've got to pray more that this fentanyl gets off the streets, that the drug cartels go away, that we can stop this from our teenagers getting access to it. And as you can tell, Jerry, I'm super upset about it, because to be honest with you, I don't see anybody in leadership in this country doing anything about it.
Well, that was an impassioned opening, Deb, and understandably so. Like you said, you care so much about this topic, and so do I. And so hopefully you do too, Take Two family. What are you up to this morning? Can you spare a few minutes to share your thoughts on this? The phone number is 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986. According to the Centers for Disease Control, much of this is originating actually in China and then making its way around the world. And as Debbie said, coming in through our porous borders, especially down along the southern border. And unsuspecting kids, parents, you would have no idea. You're going to get a phone call, and you're like Debbie said, a child doesn't have to be an addict of any kind. It could be as simple as, like Debbie said, taking something for pain for a tooth that just had been pulled. So it's so insidious. It's so insidious how this is being. It is. It's being laced into other drugs that would not necessarily cause an overdose or a death. So the deaths are just skyrocketing. We'd love to know from you, has your community, has your family been impacted by this? We hope and pray you haven't. But remember, Debbie, we did a show on the opioid crisis. It turned into a 3-part show, if I remember, because there was that much interest and participation and impact in the community. So 833-288-3986.
Here's why we put this topic on the calendar. It's a crisis. It's a problem, a major problem, and it's getting worse. Okay, I suggest we go to our representatives, our senators, our governors, and we start using our voices and calling them up and saying, what is going on? This needs to stop now. These are our children. Okay, and guess what? This is interesting. I don't know if they changed their policy, but as last year, Snapchat did not have a certain parental control thing, so you couldn't watch out what were prevent your kids from going to certain areas of Snapchat. I don't know if they changed that. I heard there was a lot of parents pushed back on Snapchat, and I know there was some high-ranking political leaders that also tried to get things changed in that. But I don't know if that's changed yet. However, what I saw was a Dr. Phil McGraw program where I've never seen Dr. Phil so rattled in his whole entire career. He was shaking. He was so upset when he heard about the deaths and the overdose and how the authorities are treating this and how it's flooding and just coming over so easily and through our borders. But here's the thing, Jerry. It's so incredibly dangerous. One little tiny quarter of a pill. In fact, there was teenagers going on Snapchat. It looks like a menu board, like you would order something off of a, In-N-Out burger or something. So you order on Snapchat, you get these pills delivered to your house. Kids were cutting them up in quarters, Jerry, and dying with a quarter of a pill. A quarter of a pill.
Yeah, it's hard to believe we've come to this, but drug use of this nature has been a part of society for probably I don't want to say going back to all of human history to Adam and Eve, but it's nothing new, and yet new ways of kind of spiking certain drugs and new ways of introducing the real dangerous ones into people's lives have been developed. And so we definitely have a problem on our hands. Cece believes that. She's on the line, Austin and Mary. And we have room for a couple of others of you to join us here as we talk about the fentanyl epidemic. We pray that it hasn't directly impacted you and your family. We see from a couple of our calls it has. And, we'd love to have your thoughts on you think what might be a solution. I don't know if, it's such a big thing, Debbie. You think, what in the world can we do? I don't know. But there has to be something. So let's talk about this in some detail here, have an impactful conversation. Take two with Jerry and Debbie talking about the fentanyl epidemic with you. We need your participation. 833-288-3986.
This is Kevin Burke of Priests for Life with Pro-Life Update. Every abortion, besides killing a child, wounds multiple people, even beyond the mom and dad. For instance, it deeply damages the siblings of that aborted child. As family psychiatrist Philip Ney writes, statistically, analyzed data showed the most frequent and intense symptom was a feeling that they did not deserve to be alive. That was closely correlated to a sense of impending doom, guilt about surviving, pessimism about the future, not trusting caregivers, and other existential symptoms, all of which form a fairly closely circumscribed syndrome. These were significantly associated with recurring depression, intense obsessions, suicidal risk-taking, and frequent hospitalizations. It's time for us to face up to this damage and heal those wounds. Go to abortionshockwaves.com for more information. This is Kevin Burke on the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.
We're finally emerging from what has to be the craziest time we've all experienced in our lives. The pandemic got a lot of people off center and stuck in a rut. Help is available. Log on today to standtalltoday.com and schedule a free consultation with one of our growing list of certified life coaches. This could be the start of something new and exciting for you. That's standtalltoday.com, where every initial consultation is absolutely free. We're talking about the fentanyl crisis today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. We do have a full phone line, so when a line becomes open, please call us at 833-288-3986. Folks, I usually maintain my composure. I really do. I try to anyway. But this is the one topic that I'm just ready to just, I don't know. I think my head's going to explode. I can't even believe this is happening in this day and age. We're smarter than this. This should never be happening to our children. This is way too easy for Satan to get in there and just kill our children, because that's what he would want. He doesn't, our children are innocent. They're really innocent. And he knows that. And so he wants to get rid of them. This is horrible. And I'm outraged. And the whole thing makes me very, very upset. But before we get to the phones, Cece's up first from Miami Beach, Florida. Cece, hold on one moment, please. I just wanted to share Mother Angelica Memorial. Visit EWTN's site dedicated to Mother Angelica, where you can celebrate her remarkable life. It's filled with photos, milestones, heartfelt stories, and her wit and words that have inspired the hearts of all ages throughout the years. Visit EWTN.com/Mother Angelica today. It's so beautiful. Please go to that EWTN.com/Mother Angelica today. I was just saying this on Catholic Radio Network. I'm co-hosting the pledge drive the entire week. And please, if you're in that area, please give generously. Catholic Radio Network. And then there's also lots of other radio stations that are having their pledge drives. If you're listening right now and they're coming to you for funds, please give generously. I was just sharing with Ken, my co-host for the pledge drive. I said, Ken, I wish Mother Angelica was with us. If she was with us right now, I think she would just be screaming at all of us saying, stop this now. This is madness. I just do. I really feel that way. And I wish she was with us, because we need some heroes. Okay, we're going to go to the phones and talk about this epidemic, the fentanyl epidemic. What can we do about it? We definitely need to pray, Lady Undoer of Knots, to Our Lady to please protect all of our children. Cece's up first in Miami Beach, Florida, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Cece. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you for calling. Tell us what's going on.
Okay, so as soon as I heard the topic of your show today, I had to call because, unfortunately, my family has been directly impacted with this topic. Our son, who was 29 years old, had a whole life in front of him, had a lot of, things going for him, talents and intellect, and a college graduate, lost his life in June of 2020 due to a fentanyl overdose. And I believe with my heart 100% that it was accidental. I mean, the autopsy showed as much, but he did struggle with depression, and he did, have some problems with drug use on and off through the years. But my head feels like it's going to explode too whenever I think about this. Mm-hmm. What are we going to do? What's the story? There's no simple solution, because no matter what, no matter how well we raise our kids to tell them about right and wrong and, about temptations and everything, they could very easily, like my son, take a pill that is laced with fentanyl. So they didn't necessarily buy it, thinking that they were taking fentanyl. It was something else. I'm not saying that was right, that, he should have done that or that's okay. But it's terrifying, because it's like the tiniest amount that can cause an overdose. I don't even think it's a quarter of a pill. I think it's like a grain of sand, how I understand it. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not sure. It just seems so overwhelming, the solution. I think Satan is definitely behind this, 100%. And, on and on. It's the way our society is now. It's the lack of mental health resources for people. He died in the middle of the COVID, at its very height, which was in June of 2020. Mm-hmm. He was seeing a psychiatrist, and of course that shut down. So if anything, he was doing phone calls with him. Right. And I don't know. It's mind-boggling to me.
Cece, I'm so incredibly sorry. We're just, our hearts are breaking. I am just, I can't stop the tears. My heart is just breaking for you, to lose your son in this way. You said 29 years old. He had his whole future in front of him. He didn't want to die. I agree with you. He didn't want to die. He didn't know what was in that. And that's what's happening. These kids don't realize that, like you said, that little grain of sand, or maybe if they're, it's, you can't even think about this because they, God forbid they take a whole pill. I mean, how quickly is it going to kill them? They have no idea what's inside of that synthetic opioid. And when they are going for it, the pill, they're going for pain relief. Okay, so they're in pain. They're in pain already, and then they die from it. Okay, this is, I am outraged that this is happening in America and around the world. And we truly, you're right, it's a complicated problem. There's no easy fix to it. But I think the more we talk about it, the more we get it out there, the more people realize how serious it is, the more we hear personal stories like yours, and we start praying for your son. If you feel comfortable, could you give us his first name so we can add him to the book? If you don't feel comfortable, God knows who Cece's son is.
Yeah, no, I'll give you his name. His name is Brian.
Brian, with a Y or an I?
His name is Brian. With an I.
With an I. Okay. We put Brian in our prayer book. Cece, our hearts are breaking. But you know what? I think we've got to go to our leaders. We don't have a chance. I mean, what are we going to do? Are we going to go down to the border and start, checking everybody coming over the border? We're not going to do that, right? That's not our place to do that. But our leaders, the people that are in charge of these things, who are making the decisions for us, they need to know how we feel. And I don't think it's fair to just label your son, Cece, or the 100,000 other kids and teenagers and young adults and say, oh, well, they had brain health issues, or they were depressed, or they had a drug addiction. That, you know what, that is an unfair label to put on those 100,000 kids, and it's wrong. Okay. The real cause of this is the fentanyl that is seeping in, and it's terrible, and it's adding, and it's complicating, and it's destroying our youth. And I think we have to really address this in various angles, and we should better handle it in truth and love, because this is not working well at all. Cece, I'm sorry. I'm very fired up about this.
I appreciate your call, taking my call, and I appreciate the prayers. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome, Cece. Those prayers will absolutely continue. Thanks for being a part of the program. Just a couple of thoughts that I had, Debbie. I have not had children, but it's got to be a tightrope act. Being a parent, how much do you want to kind of protect them, shelter them, and how much do you want to give them the freedom to integrate and become, social beings and so forth? So it's kind of a tightrope act as far as the parenting goes. And then once they're out of the house, a parent has little or no control. And I'll repeat what I said. The people who are doing this look at the other drugs and they say, we won't be able to get them to take this the way it is. So let's slip it into these other drugs that they think are safe, and that way they'll take it. It's like Satan doesn't knock on your door. You open your door. There he is, smoking being, pitchfork, a long tail, hideous-looking face. He doesn't appear that way, and he knows that he has to kind of sneak into our lives and into our hearts in various different ways. Right. This is a similar situation. The manufacturers of this know that not just young people, but anybody, if they know the dangers of it, they won't take it. So they slip it in and slip it past them. And by then it's too late in so many cases.
That's exactly right. We got to do something about it, folks. And with more prayer, definitely to Our Lady to protect our youth and young adults. We're talking about the fentanyl crisis today, the epidemic that is it's just growing every single second. Remember, fentanyl is the synthetic opioid that is 50 to 100 times more potent than morphine. Okay? Oh, can you imagine that? That is something that can instantly kill someone. Please, folks, we've got to talk about it. Is there any emergency room doctors or nurses that are listening right now? Tell us your take on this and what's happening and what we can do. Maybe some political leaders at the local level are listening to Take Two right now. Would you give us some advice on what we can do? How about some clergy members of all different faiths? You may be listening right now. Tell us what we should be doing, because we need to do something in addition to prayer.
Yeah, and just for Cece's sake and other parents as well who are, trying to see the best part of their children that end up overdosing and dying from something that has fentanyl in it. Cece mentioned, so many good things about Brian. 29 years old, a lot going for him. His talent, his intellect. He was a college graduate. I hope and pray, Cece, if you're still listening, and all parents, look at those beautiful things about your children. Remember those things, okay? Don't remember the pretty much probably an accidental instance that may have taken their lives. They
Right.
don't want to. It's been said it's not that they want to die. And you've got a lot to be proud of as parents with your kids in Cece's
Absolutely.
case especially. So
Absolutely. Mary in Pennsylvania is up next. Sirius XM 130 is the way Mary's listening. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you for taking my call. I could just pretty much repeat everything your first caller said. My son was 31, and he died of a fentanyl overdose about 2.5 years ago when he was 31. And by the grace of God, we were left with a baby girl.
Oh.
And he is so missed. And he had so much going for him. And it all started from Big Pharma when he had a wrestling injury and had a repair done on a knee, and they gave him hydrocodone when he was 16. And it just grew from there. But now it's right at our borders and just being brought over. And we don't even have leadership that will go down to the border to find out. Look into this. Why don't we take all the bodies and lay them out for the government to see how many have died? But until it becomes personal, they don't care.
That's exactly right. Mary, you are spot on. And that's why Dr. Phil did the show a couple weeks ago, and he brought on a celebrity whose son, similar thing. He was kind of hooked on painkillers from sports injury, and then he needed more, and because of the pandemic he couldn't get them easily, so he went on Snapchat. They delivered it to his house. He took the pill. He died. Okay, and this was and you're right, but because this person whose son died, this person is a pretty well-known celebrity in the kind of the talk show circles. She is going to try to force some legislation or something to happen. But you're right, unless it happens to people personally, it's so far removed. It's kind of like the homeless crisis, right? If you don't have a homeless person right in your backyard, you don't really kind of, you don't really think about it that much, okay? Unless you encounter a homeless person. Same thing with fentanyl overdose or anything else, unless a cancer even, as soon as it hits you in your home or personally, now it takes on a whole different, you take on a whole different importance about it, where we have to get our leaders to understand these are our children, these are our young adults, the future of our world. And this is so sad that your granddaughter now can't be raised by her father, okay, because of this accidental overdose with fentanyl poisoning. And I'll tell you what, this breaks my heart. Mary, Jerry wants to comment, but are you able to give us your son's first name?
Oh, yeah, his name is Adam.
Adam. Beautiful. Jerry?
Yeah, Mary, I echo Debbie's sympathies. So very, very sorry. You said many of the same things that Cece said. Your son had so much going for him in life, and probably, and I think you said it started out when he was about 16 with the pain medication. That happens so often. It's just such an innocent thing, and we can't sit here and say, the doctors are doing this and they're killing our kids or they're killing our adults or whatever. But, because they have to sometimes have to give them something for pain. But that has to be monitored. I remember I have had both knees operated on, and I think for each one I took about a 1.5 tablets of the pain medication, just because I have known people in my life who, because of just starting off in that way, got heavily into, the harder drugs and things like that. And while we have, and not too far from where I live, Mary and Debbie, we have marijuana dispensaries that are being built. These are warehouses that put Costco to shame. 10 times the size of Costco. They're growing pot in there. Marijuana is legal now. We're going down a path here. At what point do you say, well, we got to fight this over here, but we're allowing all of this to take place over here? Mm-hmm. It's kind of it's just a mixed up kind of a world that we live in. Anyway, Mary, do you have any other thoughts? Mary, we're both just kind of talking a lot.
A friend of mine who was really loved my son a lot. Her husband's an MD, and she knew Adam from second grade up, and she said, you know what they give kids now when they have knee injuries and they have to go in for surgery because of a sports injury? And I said, no, what? She said, Tylenol and Advil. They don't give them any kind of hydrocodone or oxycodone or anything like that, because they know what culture they created in that group. There's an age group that they created with the people, the kids that got their wisdom teeth removed or sports injury. And that's what they're giving them now, Advil and Tylenol, because they know what happened to that group of people, that group of kids.
I was not aware of that.
So sad. This is so tragic. Mary, our hearts are breaking for you. Tell us, your beautiful granddaughter, she's precious, right?
Oh, she sure is. She has his smile and she has his laugh. Her name is Penny Jane, and, she just melts our heart. We're very blessed to have her.
Beautiful. Well, you go with our prayers, Mary, and Penny as well. May she grow up to be a beautiful gift to her father and to all of you. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
This is Owen Jensen, EWTN News Nightly White House correspondent.
This is Raymond Arroyo, host of The World Over.
Get trusted Catholic news every day on EWTN radio and television.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
I'm a Dominican, and St. Dominic was an itinerant preacher who ran around and touched people's lives by open-air preaching. The radio opens the possibilities of doing this to the entire world in a very intimate sense.
EWTN Open Line Thursday with Father Brian Mulady. Tomorrow afternoon, 3 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
How are you listening to EWTN Radio right now? Have you ever wished you could listen on a local radio station? Maybe our Lord is speaking to your heart to help make that happen. Don't let a lack of experience hold you back. Find out how you can help start a Catholic radio station where you live. Powered by the truth of the Church and EWTN's dynamic radio programming. Email Steve at this address, radio@EWTN.com.
Want to be notified when Take Two with Jerry and Debbie goes live on Facebook? Follow EWTN Radio's Facebook page and click the bell icon to be notified.
Join Father Joseph Mary Wolfe this season of Lent as we journey together with Christ on his way to the cross. You can sign up to receive weekly Lenten meditations and this year's Lenten ebook at EWTN.com/Lent.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. You don't have to be a woman to enjoy Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
This is your show, Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. And behind the scenes, but no less important than you or anybody else, is the show team. We have our producer, Ace McKay. He's running the board as well. Jeff Burson getting your social media comments, and we hope to get to some of those here on the program today. And we have Matt Gabensky, who is screening your calls. And he's been busy today as we talk about the fentanyl epidemic. And we've had our first couple of calls. Debbie, sadly, have had direct impact in their families, losing loved ones to fentanyl. And we have several other calls that we're going to get. So we just want to continue along because it is, I think, a very important topic to undertake. So,
Well, Cece and Mary called in, and both lost their sons close in age to fentanyl, and taking a pill that killed them. And and the sad part about all of this is they probably didn't even know what was in that pill. That's the saddest part of it, because when you don't want to die, and you take something you think is relatively safe and is a mild even pain reliever, and it kills you. I mean, it's terrible. And you're right, it's coming in from China and other places, and it's cheap, and it's a cheap synthetic drug, and they're lacing it into all our stuff. It is horrible. Let's hear what Terry has to say in Michigan on Good Shepherd Radio. Hi, Terry. Thanks for waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Perry with a P.
Okay, Perry. I'm sorry. It said Terry on the screen, but Perry is a nice name as well.
Well, thank you for what you do. My background is I've been long-term recovery from alcohol and Norco. And I took a great interest when I started getting well in speaking out and speaking about recovery and volunteering to speak to people who are in active addiction. And I've come to know so many of these parents who have lost their beautiful, beautiful children. And I don't want to cry, but it's the saddest thing ever. And we know that this fentanyl is coming across the Mexican border at will. We know this. The parents of, I'll just give one specific. There's a young man named Andy, beautiful kid. I mean, everything in the world going for him. Sports, just wonderful. And he got his wisdom teeth pulled. And he was prescribed Norcos, and that just took off from there. And he was given a 30-day subscription for his wisdom teeth. Now, they don't do that anymore, but something inside him liked the way it made him feel, and he battled in just a few months. It was heroin, and he battled, and his father, we're trying to help him, beautiful kid. And he'd been to a couple of different rehabs. He came back home, was out on the job site, traded something, I don't remember what it was, a toy, gaming toy or something, for a drug dealer that pulled up on the job site, and they found him in the porta potty. He lost his life. They called his dad. When his dad got on site, the paramedics had been working on him for 30 minutes. And he watched his son die in front of him. And so his name is Andy. And we have a facility here in Jackson, Michigan, first of its kind. It's called Andy's House. So when these people come out of recovery, they don't go back into the same neighborhood in the same area. And it's new, the first one in the country, and it's really working. And that's all from a horrible experience that this father and mother experienced. So there is hope, but I propose this question, and our local area congressman, Tim Wahlberg in Michigan, and this father have worked together. This father, I'll say his name is Mike Hurst. He's testified in front of Congress. This fentanyl is coming across the Mexican border. I would wonder, and I would ponder this question: if there were people just walking across and shooting our young people, would we not have a military force at the border? Well, of course we would. So what's the difference? It's this policy. This border needs protected. It's walking across. So I'm looking at this article the other day where 5 guys carrying 70 pounds of fentanyl in their backpacks at night, one little border crossing, walked across the river and brought 350 pounds of fentanyl into the United States. How many times is that happening that we don't know about? That's enough fentanyl to kill my city, and it goes on nonstop. So the problem is so multifaceted. the problem of addiction in America, the problem of depression in America, the nonstop assault from the border. I mean, it's multifaceted, but stopping the income of the input of this drug across the border is paramount. And that's something that, to me, that feels like we could do. That's what it feels like. I'm not going to promote the little book I wrote, but I felt compelled to do it. I'm not even going to say the name, but if you read these stories, it's so heartbreaking that you can barely get through it.
Right.
So I want to God bless to everybody. It's just so heartbreaking.
Well, we're so happy that you called, Perry, because your perspective on this, knowing this family and the young boy Andy, that this happened to him, and like you said, you've spoken on this, so you've obviously, and your own recovery as well. Congratulations on that. God bless you for that. And it's always someone or often someone who's been through, Perry, what you've been through, who is able to be, have a right perspective, and people will respect you and what you have to say because of what you've been through. It's the saddest thing in the world to ever lose a child. No parent should ever have to bury a child. We say that on the show all the time. If I can just say, you mentioned Andy's house and a place of recovery, and if this is the beautiful thing that God brought out of the tragedy and the grief, then let us praise God for that. The Bible tells us God can bring good out of anything, and without making light or lessening the tragedy and the grief whatsoever. But Debbie, I have to believe Andy would be happy to know that his unfortunate situation in passing has led to perhaps the saving of many other lives.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So many lives can be saved because Andy gave his, and Perry. But I have to just tell you, I agree with Jerry. Thank you for the work that you're doing in your community, helping others and promoting others to do more, right? To do more and to help our youth and young adults. And thank you for writing the book and everything else you've done as well. I just want to say this, that really, as you were speaking, I was thinking about that this is like a really twisted game of Russian roulette. These kids are thinking that it's an innocent pain relieving pill, right? And so maybe it's not laced with fentanyl, and they take it and they're like, oh, thank goodness, I'm fine, it feels great. And then the next one they take, they die instantly. This is really, really sick. And I agree with you, like you were saying about if people were lined up and just shooting our teens, wouldn't we do something about it? It's the same thing, because that's what it's like. It's a quick hit that can kill, and it's absolutely. It has to be. It's sourced from the demons, because this is so tragic and just sick in so many ways. And what I find really really terrible is that when I was watching this talk show, they were talking about how when they investigated these deaths, the parents are now shamed into silence. They're shamed into silence because they have to maybe say that their child was addicted to a painkiller, or had depression, or had some kind of addiction prior to, or went on to heroin or something else, or cocaine, or something like that. And you know what? This is wrong. We need to get it out on the tables and find the areas that are the problems, and like you said, attack it from all different angles. Perry, thank you so much for your call today. We really appreciate it.
Well,
thank you, Perry. Don't be a stranger. Call again, please, anytime. Sounds like you could contribute to just about any conversation that we have. 833-288-3986, talking about the fentanyl epidemic. And also, Debbie, if I may, read a couple of social media comments. Watching on Facebook is Austin. He was the one he called yesterday. We asked him to call back because he lives in Yuma, Arizona. Yeah. And so, Austin, thank you for, he says, I lost the call, had to get back to work, though I thought I had more time. Being here on a border town in Yuma, Arizona, it's extremely infuriating, he says, about this real epidemic we're dealing with, fentanyl. It's not just a problem in the South, it's a real problem all over. About 2 years ago, a very close friend of mine lost his brother to a fentanyl overdose. I personally think that Debbie is right about making this a much more known problem, especially with today's youth being absolutely everything. So.
Thank you, Austin, for weighing in. We appreciate it. See, we get the news here, folks, every single night. 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock news, 9 o'clock news in Arizona. We get it every night, and we hear all about the drugs coming over the border every single day. It's bad. If you live in a border state, you know what we're talking about. If you're in the interior of the country, it may have affected your family or been in your communities, but maybe not on a daily basis. We need to keep talking about this and get our leaders to hear us. Jerry, where are we going next?
We're going to go to Carroll, Iowa. Jean has been holding very patiently. And Bobby, hang on. You're right after Jean. Jean is, like I said, in Carroll, Iowa, listening on KYMJ. Hi, Jean. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you both for taking my call. I'll make it short. A friend of mine fell and broke 2 ribs. 2 ribs, that's all. Went to the hospital in Pinehurst, North Carolina, a very nice place, a very, very nice hospital. 2 broken ribs. They gave her fentanyl. She had a cardiac arrest immediately. They put her on a respirator. All her systems quit. Her heart, of course, stopped beating, obviously, but her kidneys, her lungs, her liver, everything, a complete shutdown of her whole body. They unplugged her the next day, dead. I mean, who goes to the hospital with 2 broken ribs and dies the next day? That doesn't even make any sense.
It doesn't. Jean, did they know there was fentanyl? Was it actual?
Yes. Yes, that's the doctors. This is in the hospital. This is in the hospital, and the doctors gave her fentanyl. I don't understand it. I'm a retired registered nurse, and years ago fentanyl was in the hospital, and I wouldn't touch it, and none of the other nurses would touch it to even give it to the patients. It's not a brand new drug. It's been around a little while. But it's terrible. I would say this. I'm going to hang up. I'm not going to tie up much of your time. It's time for you to knock off anyway. I know that. But I would say if you're a patient and you're going to the hospital, make sure on the front of your chart you put on there, just like you would have do not resuscitate if that's what you wanted, your last will, whatever. Put on there, no fentanyl, period. You're allergic to it. Whatever you have to say, do not take fentanyl. They're giving it to you in the hospital, much less kids taking it. It should be taken off the market.
Well, Jean, before you go, don't rush off. You're really making me curious right now. I was not aware that fentanyl had been around for some time and that it had been being given to patients in hospitals. Has there, with what we're seeing now, with the small amounts killing, not just young people, but older people as well, why is it that a hospital would continue to make that, I guess, a medical option? Jean, do you know?
I don't know, because this happened. This was last September. She fell and broke 2 ribs September the 26th, and the very next day they unplugged her. She's dead. I quit nursing around 20 years ago, and they had it then. They had it in the little drawers where you get the stuff, your narcotics or what have you. They had fentanyl in there. And one of the nurses I worked with, she said, I'm not going to give that to anybody. And I said, why? What is that? I never even heard of it. And she told me it was fentanyl, and it's very, very dangerous. And even to touch it is dangerous. Even to touch it.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, Jean. This is like Russian roulette for these people when they think they're taking a pill that's really going to calm them down or make them feel a little better, and it kills them instantly. This is tragic.
I know. That's what I'm saying. They should just take it off the market altogether. I realize they're bringing it in illegally from Mexico. I know, but even the hospitals. This was last September. So, and that was in Pinehurst, North Carolina, a very nice place. An up-to-do hospital, And so I know they were still using it then. I don't know if they're still using it a year later. I hope not.
Yeah. Well,
but
Jean,
you go to the hospital with 2 broken ribs and you wind up dead the next day. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Of course. Jean, thank you for being a nurse. It sounds like you really cared and you cared about your patients, and that's wonderful. And we just thank you. We always love our nurses. But thank you for bringing this to our attention. We appreciate it. We need to have these conversations as tough as they are and as emotional as they are and as sad. We must have these conversations if we're going to get the attention of our political leaders. Thank you, Jean. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Bye-bye now, both of you. Thank you.
God bless you, Jean. Yeah, it makes you pause. If you take any prescription drug at all, say you're taking something for high blood pressure, cholesterol, whatever. I presume, I hope and pray, Debbie, that they do extensive studies on those as they come out from, reputable pharmaceutical companies and so forth. But I don't know, is there a day going to come when somehow they find a way to get some of that into our normal prescription?
Well, that's what they were saying, that they could lace fentanyl in anything that's really very, very innocent of a pill that you may take, even a supplement or something. That's how dangerous it is, because it is being mass produced, especially in China. So when it's coming over like that, and Jerry, it's just like a little grain of sand. Could you imagine? You could drop that into anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's just terrible. Do you want to alert our listeners about Sunday Vespers?
Sure, yeah. Sunday Vespers is Sunday evening, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on EWTN Radio Essentials, which is available on the EWTN app and at EWTNradio.net. Vespers consists of the Franciscan Missionaries of the Eternal Word celebrating Vespers and Benediction of the Blessed Sacrament from Our Lady of the Angels Chapel in Irondale, Alabama. That's Sunday Vespers, Sunday 6 p.m. Eastern on EWTN Radio Essentials.
And I understand, when I was watching this talk show, there's somewhere around 60 to 80,000 drug dealers on Snapchat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much money they're making? And our children are dying, and our young adults are dying because these people are so irresponsible and filled with greed to don't even get me started, to have our children go and order this on Snapchat. Chris in Massachusetts, hold on. We're going to get to Bobby in Alexandria, South Dakota, listening on Real Presence Radio. Hi, Bobby. Welcome.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for what you do. Thank you for the topic. I love the passion that you put into it, and that got me ramped up to call. A few comments and observations. I know I am a self-proclaimed and recognized dinosaur, so I barely know much more than a flip phone. I don't know what social media is about. To me, it's some sort of odd thing. I know what it is, but I don't know how to work it, so I don't have hands-on, but I can imagine. I've seen people use it for many purposes. So I understand how easy it is to connect, and you don't know who and what you're connecting with on the other side. They can preach anything, but they can have evil intent. On the topic of evil intent, I see the fingerprint of the evil one all over this, as well as, you could say, gun running, war, like Pope Francis said, war is satanic. Oh, there's so much that's satanic. As far as claiming the lives of people, and it's been mentioned by others in this morning's callers that somebody had an injury for pain, so you had Percodan or something like that, then you went to something a little bit more. I do, though I don't understand social media, I do understand addiction. I could introduce myself and say, hi, my name is Bobby. I'm an addict alcoholic. I am in recovery. I am closing in on several years sober. And I volunteer my time to work with those who are struggling with it in whatever capacity I can because of my experience. But you have to reach out and have to be honest and not afraid to say, yeah, I got a problem. And I'll end up in a box if I don't get help. The first place to go for help, I've learned, I have times I've used my head for a hat rack and not used it for thinking. But the first place to go is for prayer. It always works, always. In my life, every time it works. And intercessions from our Blessed Mother always work. And I'm still learning this. But as a recovering alcoholic, I understand that you get a taste of something and how it feels, and you want more, bigger, better, easier. As far as the origins and the proliferation of something like this fentanyl and other things like that, look at the money trail. There's big money in it, and people sell their souls for profit.
You got it.
Bob, yeah, I'm just going to jump in on that comment, Bobby, because I was thinking the same thing. Love of money is the root of all evil. And I don't know right off the top of my head the passage in Scripture where it says, what does it benefit you if you gain the whole world but lose your soul? And this is about money to a great extent. Bobby, you mentioned Satan. You brought Satan into this. We cannot overlook the satanic, demonic dimension of this. I wouldn't be surprised if these drugs like the fentanyl and stuff is I wouldn't be surprised if it's prayed over by
occult people.
Occult people, occult people.
Yeah.
And then that they carry demonic forces with them. So many aspects to that, Bobby. Thank God bless you for your recovery, and thank you for being a regular caller to the show. We appreciate it so much. We do want to get to Chris in Massachusetts. Debbie promised that. Thank you, Bobby, so much for your call. Please call again soon. Chris is listening on the Station of the Cross in Massachusetts. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Hi, Jerry. Hi, Debbie. Yes, I'm calling actually. I'm very familiar with this whole thing. I have a 29-year-old stepson who his name's Austin, and he's struggled for a long time with probably about 12 years now. He went right from pot into other drugs and parties and stuff like that to the big leagues with heroin, and he's had 5 that I know of bouts with the fentanyl was involved in that many times where he's overdosed and he's been brought back, and he's 29 years old. So I can relate to these parents who've lost their children. But I wanted to offer, because I'm hearing, like I said, there's a stigmatism that has for many years gone with this, and I wanted to share. There's 2 organizations in particular I want to share with the people, the listeners. One is called Learn to Cope. Learn, the number 2, COPE. This is for parents and siblings of addicted loved ones, and it's a support group for them. Right now, I believe they're only doing Zoom calls, but they're all over the country, and this has been huge for helping those who have loved ones. They even many times will have guest speakers that have been in that situation and be able to share, to give parents hope, and also like brothers and sisters of addicted loved ones. There's also an organization that my wife and I attend both of these. This one is called PAL, P-A-L, and it stands for Parents of Addicted Loved Ones. This one is a church-based, and we actually have it at our church. In fact, they're meeting tonight here in Hudson, Massachusetts. But this ministry it brings God into it, which I think is prayer, and that's a really powerful one as well. And again, it's all over the country. I think we might have the only one in Massachusetts right now, or there might be a second one. But PAL and Learn to Cope are both huge for people that have loved ones that are struggling. There's also Celebrate Recovery, which is also around the country. That people could. That's for those who are actually struggling. That they can help them to have a support group where they share. It's a Christian-based organization too.
Right. Chris, I have to just jump in real quickly. So what you're saying, if I hear you correctly, is you're saying as soon as we see a potential problem, right? Somebody that gets out of surgery and maybe is the back pain and they're taking pain relievers, we should jump onto these resources, these programs that can help us, so it doesn't go into something that it snowballs into something worse where they could lose their life, right, Chris?
Yes, because it helps for other people that have been there to see the signs and help you to see the signs that there might be a problem. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, because fentanyl, the thing is, like you were saying earlier, fentanyl is extremely addictive. It's awful. And many of these dealers, what we've heard is they will lace other drugs so that they'll get you to keep coming back, thinking that you're addicted to, say, cocaine or something else, but it's really fentanyl that's in it. So they've got you addicted. And so they're trying to get you to come back. And it's like Russian roulette. They don't know if you're going to die of it or not, but they're trying to keep their business going. We actually heard about fentanyl back in 2013. Our dog had cancer of the jaw, and it had actually gone up into the brain, and they put a fentanyl patch on our dog. And they had said, come back in so many days, and but don't touch it, or if you want, wear gloves to take it off. And we were like, no, we're not going to touch this. I didn't even know what fentanyl was at that point. But it's been around, like that lady said, it's been around for a while, and the vet prescribed it as a patch for our dog until he eventually did pass. But he died of, the cancer eventually took over, and he went blind within like 5 days and did pass away.
Oh,
but
sorry about that,
I just
Chris.
So, I mean, like I said, our son is he's in recovery. He's doing really well right now. And at least, but it's a day to day. I mean, we never know. Any day we could get a phone call that says that things have changed.
Yeah. Chris, God bless you. God bless your son. Jane, would have been a great call. Please email us if you'd like. We'd love to hear more about what you were going to share at take2@ewtn.com.
Yes, please email us. Tomorrow's show is about advice you would give to young couples or singles that want to get married. Okay, let's talk about that tomorrow. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day. St. Joseph, please pray for all of us.
The most original and exclusive Catholic content is on EWTN Radio.
One time,